And the Steelers. Ugh. Man, it's killing me. It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. 9:45 on your Friday morning. I said it. I meant it. This is the best-dressed studio in Indiana County history this morning. We've got four gentlemen all suited up, all from Marcus and Mack. By the way, all of our conversations here on Indiana in the Morning are presented by Marcus and Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. You can visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Somebody left that mic swung around. Could you grab that microphone and just swing it around there? They work better that way when they're actually pointed at you. For our Facebook listeners and viewers this morning, why don't you each identify yourself so that people know who's talking at any given time. Bob, we'll start with you.
Todd, Bob Marcus here. It's a pleasure to be with you. I listen to you every day, and the questions you ask, they're sensitive, and you get a lot of information from people, and I really appreciate it. We're glad to be here today. It's about distracted driving. Mm-hmm. And, we have a team at the office that represent injured victims, and that's what we do, about 19 people. And victims of distracted driving, it's very similar to the victims of people that are hurt by driving under the influence when they're drunk driving. Mm-hmm. Because it's unfortunate. It's something that doesn't have to happen. And a couple of years ago, I started getting a sense of how it's increasing with distracted driving, with people on their phones, and we're getting a lot of those cases. And it doesn't have to happen. Just like drunk driving does not have to happen. Yeah. And so we began to look into it. How can we help people? We're like a cancer doctor who treats people, nurses, and they want to do something to prevent cancer from happening, mm-hmm. because they have to live with it. We have to live with victims of accidents, and this doesn't have to happen. So we developed a program to reach out to people, to explain to them how prevalent it is, and to really get to students and to get to them early, because there's a high proportion of students that are growing up with these cell phones. And so we're here to talk about distracted driving, about how to prevent it so that victims and their families don't live with the results. And it's not just that. The person who causes that accident, knowing that they didn't have to do that, didn't have to be on that phone, they have to live with that the rest of their lives, too. Yeah. So I'd like to introduce some of my team, some attorneys. We have staff that act like they take care of these people sometimes for years, mm-hmm. years and years dealing with their injuries. So this is Bryan Neiderhiser, my partner, and he'll take it from here.
Yeah. Bryan, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to have you back in the studio with us. What Bob was talking about, it's a learned behavior, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. And, time gets away. Bob said that our firm's been involved in this for a couple of years, but actually time flies by. We've been involved in the End Distracted Driving program since 2018. It's a program that was founded by an attorney out of Philadelphia who tragically lost his daughter to a distracted driver. Mm-hmm. And then when I was on the executive committee of the Western Pennsylvania Trial Lawyers Association, I learned about the program and started looking through it. And when I was president in 2018 and 2019 of the organization, one of my year's goals was to have our organization, trial lawyers throughout Western and Central Pennsylvania, get involved in giving these presentations that this attorney had created in local schools, because younger people are 20 sometimes more likely to be involved in a distracted driving collision mm-hmm. than older people. And I'm very, very proud of our team, the younger lawyers here. They have really just grabbed this and taken it and run with it, yeah. and they are constantly giving these presentations in schools. The funny thing is, not funny, the tragic thing is, most people think that they're an above-average driver, and those statistics just don't match. Mm-hmm. Most people cannot be an above-average driver. there's an average, right?
Yeah.
So half the people are below it, half are above it. But when you take your eyes off the road to just look at a text or send a text, if you're going 55 miles per hour, the average person is basically driving blind for the length of a football field. It's that quick that it happens. So I'm very proud of these guys. I know Bob is, but Brad Holuta and Russell Bopp are grabbing every single invitation that they can get to go into different schools and talk about the importance of ending distracted driving and saving lives.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Brad, let's talk to you next. When we think about distracted driving, obviously phones are the number one thing that pop into our mind. There's more than one form, though, of distracted driving, isn't there?
Sure. It can be a cell phone. It can be a ham sandwich. It can be people doing makeup. It can be a pet in the car. It can even be things on your mind. If you had a busy day at work, if you have things going on at home, your mind being distracted can be important. And part of the program, we show a slide. There were some scientists that looked at people driving completely free of distraction and then people on a hands-free call. And they put cameras in the car and watched their eye movement. And the difference was remarkable of how much less people are looking around when they're even on a hands-free call versus completely focused on the road. Their field of vision is much smaller, which means they're not going to see things in the periphery like a dog or a kid on the sidewalk that might come out in front of them. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing. I think phones are getting more and more common. You go to the grocery store, you're waiting in line, you pull out your phone and look at it. Sure. It's just becoming a part of you. And with young kids today, we didn't have phones till we went to college. Kids now 8, 9, 10 years old have an iPhone, and it's a part of them. And there's GPS on there, there's movies on there, there's email. It's way more than just a phone. And then even in the car, that reflex to pull for your phone and look at it is just becoming so dangerous. Yeah.
Well, when I went to school, and Bob too, if you had your phone and you were in college, they had a cord attached to it. So there was not a whole lot of chance of getting stuck behind the wheel of a car. But that sort of, that kind of scientific approach to it, I'm sure it opens eyes, especially with school students.
That's what we try to do. We've been to about 10 schools over the last calendar year. We've got about 4 more coming up. So over the last 12, 13 months, we'll reach over 1,500 students across several counties, and always happy to do it. They can reach out to our firm, call the Hurt Line. We'll come out, or church groups, because this is important for adults too. Mm-hmm. Certainly we want to meet the students kind of where they are. We want them understand how important this is. We show them crash videos of kids their age that are distracted and cause a crash, just to make it seem very real, because no one sets out thinking this is going to happen. But obviously it does, and it's so preventable, and we try to just get that message across to these kids. And even as a passenger, some of these kids we speak to are only getting their permit, or they're 14, 15. 90% of people said that if someone spoke up, they would put the phone down. So the driver, I said, hey, if mom or dad are texting, hey, mom, let me send that text for you. 9 out of 10 times people would put the phone away. So even as a passenger, they have power to prevent this from happening.
Yeah. The interesting thing to me when we think about this as a topic is technology allows us to do so many things. And there is actually technology that will prevent us from doing distracted driving with a phone. But at the same time, things are easy to get around, and especially young folks, they're much more adept at it than we are. They'll find a way. And unfortunately, they do find that way, and it's not long before everybody's doing it.
Yeah, well, 60% of accidents involving teenagers are caused by distraction. So I tell these kids, look, if we eliminate the distraction, we've cut down by more than half the crashes that have occurred, because you're eliminating the cause. And kids, they're learning to drive, so it's hard enough as it is when they're learning to parallel park for the first time and drive on the highway for the first time. But then when you put the phone in there, it just takes the danger and magnifies it significantly.
Yeah. Russ Bopp, you've been involved in these programs as well. When you go to the schools and you present these programs to kids, I'm sure you open eyes, but what are some of the reactions that you hear from them?
Yeah, I think the message is really well received, because I do think they realize, hey, this is a problem. Everyone, if you said, hey, should you use your phone while you're driving? Everyone's going to say no. But they don't appreciate the consequences of that. Like, everyone understands that that's a problem, but they don't understand how, if you do that for just a couple seconds, it can destroy lives. And in our practice, in the cases that we see those destroyed lives, the families, and we're dealing with what's left after somebody makes a decision. Because this is a decision. Let's be clear. You make a decision to pick up your phone or to take an action that takes your eyes off the road. And so some of the reactions, I think, is just an appreciation for really how devastating these can be. And I do think that message is getting across through these presentations. We have a lot of statistics like you've heard, and we have a lot of videos that we share with these students to just show them and help impress upon them how serious this is. It's not a trivial matter. It's very serious.
I'm sure that you have had programs where they get very emotional, especially if there's somebody there who, somebody that they know, maybe a family member, has had an accident or been in an accident that had something to do with distracted driving.
Yeah, it's just very sad seeing the reality of what can happen after distracted driving accidents. And we get reactions like that from students and their family members who have been involved in that. And, I do want to make it clear, obviously we're presenting these to students, but distracted driving is not a problem that is limited to students. I know for certain that people after they've graduated, not just people that are learning to drive, but everyone has a cell phone, they have a smartphone, and they might not be texting. They could be getting on the radio, they could be sending an email, they could be checking the news, they could be checking their social media, they could be posting. All of these things are things that we've all adopted. And so it's really not just a problem for students, even though we're focusing on that because they're learning. We want to ingrain smart, healthy habits early. It's a problem for all of us, and we all need to take a look.
For those of us who are even slower with phones than young kids because they grew up with them, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. So April coming up is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. You've already visited a number of schools around the area. And you've got more coming up?
Yeah.
Where have you been so far?
Yeah, so over the past calendar year, we've been to a lot of schools. We've been to United, Marion Center, Bishop McCourt, Penns Manor, Homer Center, Lenape Tech. Those are all completed programs that we've done. And upcoming on the schedule, we have United, Clearfield, Wimber, and Richland. And that's going to be through the month of April here.
Can somebody still get on the schedule for you? Would you go to other schools should they contact you?
Absolutely. If a school, hears this program and wants us to come out and speak to their students, we would be absolutely happy to do that. It's really important, and we're proud of what we've already done, but there's more work to be done as well.
Yeah, and I guess, Brad, you said that, not just schools.
Yeah, no, it could be church groups, community groups. Certainly, teenagers are a big target audience, but we all do this, unfortunately, at all ages. It's a nationwide problem. It doesn't know bounds of age or demographics. Everybody's probably guilty of this if they're honest with themselves, and so we're just trying to get the word out. It's a nice program. We're trying to honor the memory of Joel Feldman, the attorney from Philadelphia. His daughter, he's tried to turn this into something positive. The program's reached 500,000 people nationwide, and we're proud to be a part of that.
Someone wants to learn more. What's the specific number they should call?
1-800-HURT-LINE is our office. We have information there. We have information on our social media channels about this program. EndDD.org is the Casey Feldman Foundation that we're a partner with. But we'd be glad to continue getting the word out.
It's Marcus and Mack. As we know, they've been voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. It's programs like this that make them more than just a law firm. MarcusandMack.com. Gentlemen, thank you all so much for coming in to visit with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. We're just about a minute away from 10 o'clock. Fox News will come your way then, and then it's a brief look at news with Josh Whittison.